Kṛṣṇa Caitanya-caritāmṛta tan param Premamritam banidhi Kṛṣṇa Caitanya.
Good evening, everyone, from the east coast of Canada and the U.S. It's Wednesday night, Caitanya-caritāmṛta, reading and discussion from the unedited, unadulterated books of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, the founder Acharya of this wonderful Hare Krishna movement, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And it is important to note that Prabhupada mentions on multiple occasions that the authenticity of the words of Krishna and the words of the spiritual master always remain unchanged. They are repeated according to the previous Acharya, and in disciplic succession, they become preserved or protected. Because Prabhupada explains, what is the value of a changed book? You have a book that was written with an original author, with original understanding and realization, and then you change it. It's like the law. If you change the law whimsically, what is the value of the law? There is no value. So the protection of Prabhupada's legacy in the form of his teachings is the essence of this mission of the Hare Krishna Society and the Prabhupada Disciples Association. Yes, we have a mission. It's not institutionalized, by the way. We're not interested in continuing to, we're not opposed to, of course, the building of temples or the organization of farm communities. That may happen in the future. But for now, our main goal is to teach people that are interested in Krishna consciousness the truth of the matter in terms of the disciplic succession that Prabhupada represents. And then, wherever you live, whatever you do, you share that in your particular Namhata area, Prabhudatta Desha, the area where you live, where you practice Krishna consciousness. Share it with others. Don't be selfish. This is not a selfish movement. This mission is to give Krishna consciousness, the opportunity of Krishna consciousness to other people. And this will be the success of our work. So much distortion, so much manufacturing by others has destroyed what was a very great mission. Superficially, it may look, the current ISKCON movement may look somewhat successful, but the core of it has been severely damaged by mental concoction. Just before we get on to the reading of our diaries section of this program, where we look into the past work of our spiritual master, recently, Daniel, on TV, on national TV, on international TV, there's been an expose of the Hare Krishna movement. I don't know if you've seen it. It's absolutely sad to have this particular these programs, they're quite extensive. In fact, it's interesting to note, you showed Anandana Prabhu, looking back at my past history myself, that the whole episode really centers around 83, 84, 85, 86, culminating, I believe, in 2 murders that took place in New Vrindavan under the bogus guru, Keith Ham. And it was at that time in 1985, around that time, 86, that I officially left the mission due to the extreme political atmosphere that was created by Keith Ham in Toronto when we bought the Toronto Temple, which is the biggest building, one of the most prestigious buildings in the world. Unfortunately, the Americans that were reporting on it never showed a picture of it, never discussed it properly, never appreciated it for whatever reason. Of course, we have Keith Ham. He was thinking he was king of the world. He had that crazy, crazy, sad mission going on there. And to see it on the screen and to be a part of that story and to have dealt with him personally on multiple occasions is a real revelation of how distorted and abused the mission of Prabhupada has become under their so-called leadership. Pathetic. And then people still want to believe that this particular leadership group is legitimate. It's interesting to note, Yashoda Prabhu, Nandana Prabhu, they show a picture of Hridayananda he's speaking in this special, and they show him, and then underneath it goes, former guru. Former guru. Former guru. Is that true? Well, I guess in that, the way they wrote it was, but the fact of the matter is, this particular fraudulent person is still recognized as a leader in the ISKCON group, as part of the founder of Kṛṣṇa West, with his Ralph Lauren shirt on, no beads, no neck beads, no chanting beads, no danda, no tilak, no sika, nothing. One complete fraud. And people like him and his colleagues think, oh yes, we're still sort of gurus. So unfortunate, especially in the light of how great Prabhupada's work was in starting this movement, and then due to complete whimsical behavior manufactured by these people, they have ruined this movement. Totally, it's a hoax. So we'll go to, I had to express that because last night you showed Anandana Prabhu. I wanted to call you today. I couldn't stop thinking about this all night. I couldn't sleep. I got up today. It was so disturbing to relive this past and be a part of it, unfortunately, not as a as a victim. They stole Prabhupada's deity out of the Toronto Temple. They stole his shoes. They sent letters against myself and my administration. They completely ignored all rules and regulations of good behavior and carried on like a bunch of outlaws in propagating their so-called palace of gold. It's unbelievable. So all of you, if you get a chance to see this, try to keep a balanced view on Prabhupada's mission and understand that this was certainly not what Prabhupada wanted to happen after his departure in 1977. And we'll be doing some special programs on that coming up in 2 weeks. It's gone exposed, and it'll be a strict podcast discussing all these issues on the change books, on the change management system, on the change guru system, the whole thing, just so that all of you get a proper understanding of what really happened with people that were living through it in the past and are still living forward into the future to present the truth without adulteration. So we'll go to Tuesday, February 1st, 1966. So Prabhupada's, I read the summary last class. So we'll carry on with the details, and we'll just read through 4 pages of Prabhupada's diary. Today, February 1st, New York, today phoned Mr. Felix Morrow of the University Books. He said to his Hindu representative, he's looking into the matter. As soon as he finishes his task, he will let me know. The expenditure was a bus fare of 30 cents. It is arranged today by phone that the Universal Church will allow space for holding meetings on every Wednesday evening at 7:30 p.m. Mr. Cohen informed about this. So Prabhupada's planning. He had no place to speak, so he was making arrangements to speak in other people's centers on the glories of Lord Chaitanya. Wednesday, the 2nd of February. Today I delivered one set of books to Mr. Lindsay R. Moss, one assistant of the Alfred P. Sloan Foundation, for presenting the same to President Mr. Everett Case of the foundation. I have also posted one letter addressed to the president, one letter sent to Mr. Henry J. Levy, buyer of Mr. Bentano's bookseller. So he's pushing out the books, trying to propagate the philosophy through his books and his preaching programs. Expenditure of bus fare, 30 cents. His prasadam, potatoes, banana, and apple, 73 cents. One Etsy 20 tape recorder from Peerless, cash memo number M78490DT26, February 2nd, I guess, yes, yeah. For 5402, guaranteed for 90 days, 5402. So it was 5505 expenditure. In the evening, there's a lecture at the Universalist Church West, 76th Street and Central Park West. Very ambitious. It's extremely organized as well. Here we are, Thursday, February 3rd, 1966. Back in time. New York, today there was a very nice demonstration of tape recorder Sankirtan by me. It is all grace of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Srila Haridas Thakur said that the transcendental sound of Harinam would even purify the heart of birds and beasts. Today, the statement of Haridas Thakur, Haridas, is corroborated. These Americans are cannot understand even a word's meaning of the Sankirtan, and yet they were so much attracted. It is all Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's power. There is no credit for me. One set of books sold $13, and there was no expenditures. And Friday, February 4th, 1966. Should have probably further. Engagement with Mr. Henry L. Levy, buyer of Messrs. Benetano's at 9:30 a.m. So he had a meeting. 566 Fifth Avenue, New York. Mr. Levy was duly seen, but he has no scope for selling my books. One set book delivered to Orientalia against price deposited yesterday, and one book taken back from Paragon Book Gallery. So book distribution. Received one letter from Tirtha Maharaj, his godbrother from the Gaudiya Math. On his asking for the letter of the donor, he has been given the letter from Sri Padampat Singhayani and requested him to take sanction for exchange not less than rupees 10 million? 1, 2, 3. Expenditure 30 cents. One Indian young businessman met. His name is Rabindra Srivatsava of Kṛṣṇa Trading Corporation, dealing in carpets. His address is registered. And then there's a footnote. Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj was the head of the Gaudiya Math, the main branch of the Gaudiya Math. Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj. And I had the Bhagavad Gita, the blue Bhagavad Gita, that he signed after it was published by the Macmillan Company, the blue one, and sent back to India. And I got it at the Caitanya-caritāmṛta when I was staying with the Nahata family, the head of the Chamber of Commerce of Calcutta. And the Gaudiya Math was next door, Yashodanandana Prabhu. So I was staying in Calcutta, and I went every day. We went next door. I would check out the Gaudiya Math and see things that were going on there. Not much, by the way. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and the Sankirtan movement. And all glories to the Prabhupada Disciples Association. Thank you for all attending these classes. And we'll move forward with the chanting of the bhajan, Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari, and then the discussion and reading with His Grace Yashodanandana Prabhu in Twain Harte, California, in the cold, cold mountains. Hari Hari Bol.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Banachari. Jamuna Tira Banachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamuna Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Jai Amuspat Paramahansa Paribhrajagacharya Sattvareswara Samadhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Bhagavad Ki Jai Ananta Kodi Vaishnavindra Ki Jai Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktamani Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Mokh Gopinath Sam Khand Radha Khand Giri Godhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Jamuna Mai Ki Jai, Guru Dwarka Dham Ki Jai, Swami Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, all glories to the Assembly. All glories to the Assembly. Thank you very much.
All glories to you, Srila Prabhupada. All glories to you, Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. From Srimad Bhagavatam 1:1:1. Narayanam namaskrityam naram cheva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayat. One should utter the means of conquest, Srimad Bhagavatam, after offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead Narayana, 2, to the Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3, to the goddess Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4, to Srila Vyasadeva, the author, from Srimad Bhagavatam 1-4. Welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta, as we do every week, or every 2 weeks. We will be reciting a few verses from the introduction of the Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta, namely from chapter 1, Adilila, text number 18 to 22, describing the benefits and meaning of hearing this great, powerful, transcendental literature. Adilila, chapter 1, text number 18. Jai Jai Sri Caitanya Jai Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Glory to Sri Caitanya and Nityananda. Glory to Advaita Chandra, and glory to all the devotees of Sri Gaura, Lord Chaitanya. Text 19. 18 Thakur Gaudiya ke karye chenayatma sat. 18 Charana Vandan Tire Morenat. These 3 deities of Vrindavana, Madan Mohan, Govinda, and Gopinatha, have absorbed the heart and soul of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, followers of Lord Chaitanya. I worship their lotus feet, for they are the lords of my heart. Text 20. Grante Rarambi Karimangala Charana Guru Vaishnava Bhagavan Tinera Smarana. In the beginning of this narration, simply by remembering the spiritual master, the devotees of the Lord, and the personality of Godhead, I have invoked their benedictions. Text 21. Tinera Smarane Vigna Vinashana Anayasayai Nijavanchita Purana. Such remembrance destroys all difficulties and very easily enables one to fulfill his own desires. Text number 22. Simangala Charanai Trivida Prakar Vastu Nirdesha Shiravada Namaskara. The invocation involved three processes: defining the objective, offering benedictions, and offering obeisances. Again, we invite everybody to hear this transcendental message of Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta. Today we will be reading from Canto 1, not Canto, but Adi Lila, Chapter 4, text number 147. All synonyms, translations, and purports by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, also known as the Krishna Consciousness Movement. Krishna Madhuryera Eka Swabhavika Bala Krishna Dimnara Nari Karaye Chanchala. Krishna of Lord Krishna, Madhuryera of the sweetness, Eka one, Swabhavika natural, Bala strength, Krishna Lord Krishna, Adi beginning with, Naranari men and women, Karaye makes, Chanchala perturbed. Translation: the beauty of Krishna as one natural strength. It thrills the hearts of all men and women, beginning with Lord Krishna himself. Text 148. Shravane darshane akarshaye sarvaman apana svadite Krishna karena yatan. Shravane, in hearing, darshane, in seeing, akarshaye, akarshaye attracts, sarvamana, all minds, apana, himself, asvadite, to taste, Krishna, Lord Krishna, karena, makes, yatana, efforts. Translation: all minds are attracted by hearing his sweet voice and flute, or by seeing his beauty. Even Lord Krishna himself makes efforts to taste that sweetness. Text 149. Imaduryamrita pan sadayekari Trishna shanti nahe Trishna bhade nirantari. This Madhurya Amrita, nectar of sweetness, Pana, drinks, Sada, always, Ye, that person who, Kare, does, Trishna Shanti, satisfaction of thirst, Nahe, there is not, Trishna, thirst, Bhade, increases, Nirantare, constantly. Translation: the thirst of one who always drinks the nectar of that sweetness is never satisfied. Rather, that thirst increases constantly. Text 150. Atriptaya kare vidhira nindana, avidagda vidhi bhala na jane srijana. Atripta, unsatisfied, oya, being, kare, do, vidhira, of Lord Brahma, nindana, blaspheming, avidagda, inexperience, vidhi, Lord Brahma, bhala, well, najane, does not know, srijana, creating. Such a person, being unsatisfied, begins to blaspheme Lord Brahma, saying that he does not know the art of creating well and is simply inexperienced. Text 151. Koti netra nahi dila sabe dila dui, tahani nirmesha Krishna hidikina mui. Koti, 10 million, netra, eyes, Nahidila, did not give, Sabhe, to all, Dila, gave, Dui, to, Tahate, in that, Nimesha, a blink, Krishna, Lord Krishna, Ki, how, Dekiba, shall see, Mui, I. Translation. He has not given millions of eyes to see the beauty of Krishna. He has given only 2 eyes, and even those eyes blink. How then shall I see the lovely face of Krishna? Text 152. Ajati yad bhavan hanikananam trutir yugayate tvamapasyatam kutila kuntalam srimukam chate Jadaudikshatam pakshma kridrisham atati goes. Yat when, bhavan, your lordship, ani in the day, kananam to the forest, trutihi half a second, yugayate appears like a yuga, tvam you, apashyatam of those not seeing, Kutila kuntalam, adorned with curled hair. Shrimukam, beautiful face. Cha, end. Te, your. Jadaha, stupid. Udikshatam, looking at. Pakshma krita, the maker of eyelashes. Drisham, of the eyes. Translation. The gopis say, O Krishna, when you go to the forest during the day, and we do not see your sweet face, which is surrounded by beautiful curling hairs, half a second becomes as long as an entire age for us. And we consider the Creator, who has put eyelids on the eyes we use for seeing you, to be simply a fool. Purport. This verse is spoken by the gopis in Srimad Bhagavatam 10, 31, 15. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine. I offer my respectful obeisances unto His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who is very dear to Lord Krishna, having taken shelter at His lotus feet. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Our respectful obeisances are unto you, O spiritual master, servant of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami. You are kindly preaching the message of Lord Chaitanya Deva in delivering the Western countries, which are filled with impersonalism and voidism. Bhaktisiddhanta Shishyayam Bhaktivedanta namine prasannaya prashantaya tasmai Shri Gurave namaha. Let me offer my obeisances unto my Guru Maharaj, who is a disciple of Shri Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who is always calm and joyful, and who bears the name Bhaktivedanta, from the Prabhupada Stotram. Bhagavad Vandanam Khadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadatehi Visheshataham. Worship of the Supreme Lord is naturally very sweet, just like milk is originally sweet. Just as milk becomes sweeter by adding a little sugar, in the same way, worship of the Supreme Lord becomes sweeter by first worshiping the bona fide Guru, from the Stotaratna Bhashya of Sri Vedanta Desika. Adadhana strinam danteridam yachi punaha punaha Srimad Rupa Padam Bhoja Dhulisyam Janma Janmani. Clasping a straw between my teeth, I repeatedly beg to attain the dust of the lotus feet of Srimad Rupa Goswami, birth after birth, from the Sri Mukta-charita of Raghunath Das Goswami. Amsho Bhagavato Smyaham Sadadasu Asmi Saravata Tat Kripa Pikshako Nityam Tat Prishta Shat Karomi Svam. I'm a tiny part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and I'm always and in every way his eternal servant. As I'm always hoping for his mercy and kindness, I offer myself to his most dear servitor, my spiritual master, from the Arachana Padati. Sri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So as we are continuing our reading from the Caitanya-caritāmṛta about the transcendental personality of Lord Krishna, where he's describing is amazing, where Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, the author, is describing the amazing beauty of Lord Krishna. It is quite significant to note that everything is described in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Caitanya-caritāmṛta. Sometimes in 1972 in December, Prabhupada was in Bombay, India, residing at the apartment of Kartikeya Mahadevya. He was a life member of the society, and he had a very nice flat, very large flat on one of the floors of a building near the ocean, right on the ocean. Prabhupada was invited as a special guest. And one night, what happened is one Indian gentleman who obviously was with another particular sect, religious sect, came to see Prabhupada. And as part of the discussion, Prabhupada started to ask him questions. So who is God? What are his qualities? Where does he live? What are his activities? What does he do? What does he look like? And it was interesting because Prabhupada was very, very gentle in the way he was questioning. And the man says, well, I do not know. We don't know. And Prabhupada's point, if you do not know, then how do you love? If you do not know a person, how do you love that person? And then the man said, well, we don't accept Krishna. And Prabhupada said, why not? You say that you believe in God, and we present to you, according to Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, here is God. Kṛṣṇa, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, did not want to accept. So Prabhupada says, if you do not accept, then who is God? Can you describe? And then Prabhupada pointed his finger at him and insisted, can you describe? Obviously, the man had no idea. It was basically sentiment, emotion. While Prabhupada was respectful of the person, at some point Prabhupada put his foot down, basically saying that you don't know much, you don't know anything. And this is the difference between sentimentality and emotion and factual transcendental knowledge of the personality of Godhead. We see in the Bhagavad Gita, in chapter 7, text 19, how Lord Krishna explains, Bahunam janmana mante jnanavan mam prapadyati Vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma sudurlabha. That after many, many births, one may come to the conclusion that Lord Krishna, Vasudeva, is everything. We see in the Nectar of Devotion, the authoritative translation of the Science of Bhakti, originally written by Rupa Goswami in the in the original 1500s, and translated by Srila Prabhupada in 1968, that in that book, Srila Prabhupada presents systematically the entire science of bhakti as given by Rupa Goswami Prabhupada. Now, this is very important because Rupa Goswami is considered the chief disciple of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And him and his brother, Sanatan Goswami, were ordered by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to go to Vrindavan, discover the sacred places of the pastimes of Lord Krishna, and to write transcendental literatures and firmly establish the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That is why when we read Bhagavad Gita, we start in the introduction by offering pranams or respectful obeisances to the spiritual master, Om Ajnanatimirandasya, and then we offer obeisances to Rupa Goswami. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale. So when will Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, who has established Stapitam Yena Bhutale, who has established on this planet, on this earth, the mission of Lord Chaitanya, when will he give us his mercy? Now, this is a very important point, because some persons with a poor fund of knowledge sometimes will criticize the Acharya Srila Prabhupada, saying that Prabhupada did not systematically present the science of bhakti. Most of it was just in the form of lecture and instructions to his disciple in letters and conversations. It's not systematically done. But the Nectar of Devotion is systematic. It's just a translation of the greatest systematic explanation by Rupa Goswami. What can be more systematic than presenting the foremost authority in the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, Rupa Goswami, and to present in English to the whole world how this book has come. In 1970 in Los Angeles, when the Nectar of Devotion was first published, some devotees, this occurred in July, some devotees went to Srila Prabhupada and complained that this book seems difficult to understand. Prabhupada says, if you find it is difficult, then read it again. So devotees mentioned to Prabhupada, well, Prabhupada, in some of the later sections of this book, Nectar of Devotion, it is somewhat complicated. It is not easy to understand. Prabhupada says, well, in that case, you read it again and again. So as devotees progressed in their inquiry from Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada's point was, if you read it again and again and again, eventually you will understand. Now, that book is not so easy to understand for sadhakas or beginning neophyte practitioners because it is very detailed. It is very systematic with profuse quotations from numerous scriptures. We see in the Sadgoshamyashtakam of Srinivasacharya, the 8 verses glorifying the 6 Goswamis. In the 2nd verse, he described Nana Shastra Vicharaneka Nipuno, that the 6 Goswamis were very expert, Nipuno, to analyze all the various Vedic scriptures. Saddharma Samstapako, to establish the Saddharma, the actual transcendental truth, the actual transcendental systematic religion for the age. This is very important because we see even amongst the followers of Lord Chaitanya, there are many different parties who claim to be following the teachings and instructions of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but many of them along the way have become deviated. This is very important. Srila Sachidananda Bhaktivinoda Thakur, one of our great previous acharya, as described in his writings, are there 13 apasampradayas, non-authorized parties who claim or profess to follow the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. Somebody may say, well, why bring this up? Well, we bring this up because we have to understand what's correct and what's incorrect. What's the proper path to follow and what's the non-proper path to follow. Just like both in Bengal and in North India and Vrindavan, there is a class of deviates, apasidantins, or various persons, Jati Gosai. Jati Gosai means they believe that they have an exclusive angle. They have an exclusive understanding of the teachings of Lord Chaitanya because they are born in some Acharya families or special families or descendants of Nityananda, descendants of Advaita, like that. But we see in various lectures and presentations that Srila Prabhupada also was very critical of such personalities, claiming that, oh, I am a descendant of Nityananda, give me money, and Prabhupada said they spend on family or whatever they do, and no preaching. Distorting the teachings. In another place in the Caitanya-caritāmṛta, Prabhupada explains that one of the major deviations in the process of bhakti is to associate with a group of people claiming monopoly on spiritual advancement. Now, this is a very important point. As we've seen and experienced in the lives of some contemporaries, there are many persons who think that they are Lord Chaitanya's gift to the world, that their understanding is the best, that they are the very best devotees, they're the chosen ones, that their idea of the presentation of the teachings of the great Acharya, Srila Prabhupada, that their understanding is the absolute best. Of course, it's a pious belief, like many other beliefs. That's nice. Everybody is entitled to their beliefs. But when this so-called belief, when it comes time to actually prove it and have what's called intellectual virility, or subject these so-called beliefs to a critical analysis, not criticism, but analytical review, their belief starts to go silent. Now, as I said, we want to be respectful. Everybody is entitled to their views, their understanding, their pious beliefs. But what is that belief? Just like this man in Bombay was challenged by Prabhupada. So who is God? What does he do? What are his activities? Where does he live? How will you develop love of God unless you know? And that is the greatest contribution of the great acharyas in our sampradaya. They have explained everything in great detail, in considerable detail, to understand the science of God. It is not just sentiment or emotion. That is good. Sentiment and emotion is good. We don't decry that. We don't criticize that. But that is not sufficient. One has to systematically devote to the process of submissive oral reception from proper sources. Recently, I had a discussion with a devotee that such and such devotees are doing so much preaching, they're following Prabhupada, they're doing this, they're doing that. And my first reaction is, that's nice. So what do they believe? Anybody can say, we're following this, we're following that. What do they believe and what did they actually follow? If you believe and accept Prabhupada, how can you change Prabhupada's teachings, Prabhupada's instructions, Prabhupada's books? Just like Prabhupada is given in one lecture, that you cannot change the law according to your convenience. The law is established by the legislature. You cannot change the law and go to court and say, Your Honor, here's the law on the new property law, the new contract law, the new law on marriage and relationships between men and women. You cannot do that. That is not within your authority to change the law, to change the writing of the law. You have to accept the law as it is given by the government and as it is commented upon by the courts. Similarly, the teachings of the great acharyas, especially Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the last three great acharyas in our sampradaya who have written both Sanskrit, Bengali, English, numerous literatures for the modern age, for the modern world. You cannot change these writings to your own liking. I've often given this story, how in 1972 in Calcutta, a few of us went to the Gaudiya Math, the Bagh Bazar temple. This is the famous marble temple that was built during the manifested presence of His Divine Grace, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. This is the famous temple. He said, if I could just sell all the marbles and print some books. Bhaktisiddhanta made that famous statement. So we went there looking for a copy, or several copies if we could find, of the Brahma Samhita with the commentary of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada. So we went there, and eventually some old Babaji showed us a room, opened the door, and some old box in the corner, he found some books. So we got a couple of these books, gave him a donation, came back to the temple and showed the books to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada took the book and looked at the first few pages at the year of publication, because the Brahma Samhita was published just before the Brahma Samhita with Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's commentary and explanation was published just before his departure in 1937. And Prabhupada said, yes, this is authorized, but don't buy anything that was published after 1937. They started to amend and edit his books. So just like we saw the great danger of changing the teachings by those who interpret according to their convenience or their pratishta problem of profit, adoration, and distinction, similarly, one cannot change the writings and commentaries of the Acharya according to his nonsensical interpretation, speculative interpretation, just as one cannot change the law of the state according to his convenience. Similarly, one cannot change the commentaries and writings of the Acharya according to his convenience. So if one changes the books, he's not following Prabhupada, he's disobeying Prabhupada. Prabhupada says, as it is, no change. They cannot change anything. This was Prabhupada's instruction on June 22nd, 1977, in his garden during the Rascal Editors conversation. Now, English is not my first mother tongue, French was, but it doesn't take a PhD in English grammar to understand when Prabhupada says they cannot change anything. That is not difficult to understand. But some people, it is very difficult for them. They will argue endlessly how they should edit this, they should edit that. They will find fault with some of the previous editors, all of this nonsense. Just leave it as it is. That was Prabhupada's instruction. In Prabhupada's subsequent instruction, the next printing again should be the original way. Once Prabhupada found out, and in his very manifested presence, they had started to change the books. Says, no, the next printing again should be the original way. In this way, then the teachings can go on. Otherwise, everything becomes polluted. Just like a foolish person who thinks that he can revise the law of the state on his own volition or on his own desire. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much for that wonderful explanation of these verses. And it is interesting to note today, Yashodanandana Prabhu, how the gopis in these verses of Caitanya-caritāmṛta are chastising Krishna. He has not given millions of eyes to see the beauty of Krishna. He has given only 2 eyes, and even those eyes blink. How then shall I see the lovely face of Krishna? So these pastimes that are given in Caitanya-caritāmṛta are of a very elevated nature. They're not just ordinary pastimes like a novel or a fictional story, but they're insights into the transcendental nature of the Supreme Lord by the grace of the spiritual master and his transcendental realization of Krishna in his form, eternal form. So this is a very advanced stage of devotional service, and we're thrust into it when we're reading these particular pastimes. And I'm surprised, Yashodanandana Prabhu, to see it in the Adi Leela, chapter 4, how progressive these insights are given to the devotees in terms of the transcendental nature of the Supreme Lord. Because spiritual life has a starting point, and the starting point I'm reading in Caitanya-caritāmṛta further on in the Ancha Leela, chapter 3, text beginning at Ancha Leela, chapter 3, text 177. It describes about the glories of the holy name and the potency of the holy name, because it is the process of chanting Hare Krishna, which is the means by which we can begin to get some insight into the transcendental nature of the Supreme Lord. So I'm going to read a couple of these verses from this section dealing with Haridas Thakur. It is mentioned in the assembly that Haridas Thakur chanted the holy names of Krishna 300,000 times a day. Thus all the learned scholars began to discuss the glories of the holy name. Some of them said, by chanting the holy name of the Lord, one is freed from the reactions of all sinful life. Others said, simply by chanting the holy name of the Lord, a living being is liberated from material bondage. So they're giving two different opinions. Haridas Thakur protested, these two benedictions, thank you, are not the true result of chanting the holy name. By actually chanting the holy name without offenses, one awakens his ecstatic love for the lotus feet of Krishna. When a person is actually advanced and takes pleasure in chanting the holy name of the Lord, who is very dear to him, he is agitated and loudly chants the holy name. He also laughs, cries, becomes agitated, and chants just like a madman, not caring for outsiders. Liberation and extinction of the reactions of sinful life are two concomitant byproducts of chanting the holy name of the Lord. An example is found in the gleams of morning sunlight. As the rising sun immediately dissipates all the world's darkness, which is deep like an ocean, so the holy name of the Lord, if chanted once without offenses, can dissipate all the reactions of a living being's sinful life. All glories to that holy name of the Lord, which is auspicious for the entire world. After reciting this verse, Haridas Thakur said, O learned scholars, please explain the meaning of this verse, but the audience requested Haridas Thakur, it is better for you to explain the meaning of this important verse. And Haridas Thakur said, as the sun begins to rise, even before visible, it dissipates the darkness of night. With the first glimpse of sunlight, fear of thieves, ghosts, and demons immediately disappears, and when the sun is actually visible, everything is manifest, and everyone begins performing his religious activities and regulative duties. Similarly, the first hint that offenseless chanting of the Lord's holy name has awakened dissipates the reactions of sinful life immediately. And when one chants the holy name offenselessly, now see the key words here, Prabhus, offensive and offenseless chanting. One awakens to service and ecstatic love at the lotus feet of Krishna. Liberation is the significant result derived from a glimpse of awakening an offenseless chanting of the holy name. And Prabhupada, the verse goes forward about Ajamil chanting the holy name of the Lord, intending to call his son Narayan. Nevertheless, he attained the spiritual world. What to speak of those who chant the holy name with faith and reverence. Now we're going to move forward just quickly. I wanted to read this on the request of Yashodanandana Prabhu for your insight, everyone. And this is text 213 of Ancha-lila, chapter 3. Ancha-lila, text 213. A characteristic of a pure devotee is that he excuses any offense by an ignorant rascal. Thank you. The characteristic of Krishna, however, is that he cannot tolerate blasphemy of his devotees. Purport. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught, Trinadapi Sunichena Tororapi Sahishnuna Amanina Amanadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. A Vaishnava strictly follows the principle of being humbler than the grass and more tolerant than a tree, expecting no honor from others, but offering honor to everyone. In this way, a Vaishnava is simply interested in chanting about the Supreme Personality of Godhead and glorifying Him. Haridas Thakur epitomized this foremost order of Vaishnavism. Here's the key. Krishna cannot tolerate any insults of blasphemy against a Vaishnava. For example, Prahlad Maharaj was chastised by his father Hiranyakashipu in so many ways, but although Prahlad tolerated this, Krishna did not. The Lord therefore came in the form of Nrsingadev to kill Hiranyakashipu. Similarly, although Srila Haridas Thakur tolerated the insult by Gopal Chakravarti, Krishna could not. The Lord immediately punished Gopal Chakravarti by making him suffer from leprosy, while instructing Srila Rupa Goswami about the many restrictive rules and regulations for Vaishnavas. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has very vividly described the effects of offenses at the lotus feet of a Vaishnava. Yadi Vaishnava aparad udhe hati mata. Offending or blaspheming a Vaishnava has been described as the greatest offense, and it is being compared to a mad elephant. When a mad elephant enters a garden, it ruins all the creepers, flowers, and trees. Similarly, if a devotee properly executing his devotional service becomes an offender at the lotus feet of his spiritual master or a Vaishnava, his devotional service is spoiled. So this is in relation to what Yashodananda Prabhu was mentioning about changing Prabhupada's teachings. This is an offense against the spiritual master. Yashodananda Prabhu, if you could further discuss.
I want to quote from a conversation Prabhupada had. This was done in Calcutta in the early 1970s with Hayagriva and Shyama Sundar. It's been published in a book called Dialectical Spiritualism, where Srila Prabhupada was talking about the spread of communism by various propaganda. Prabhupada said, first of all, this communistic idea came from Russia and China imitated. Devotee, well, it came out of the proponent philosophers. Prabhupada, anyway, the Russia is supposed to be the leader of the communistic idea. Revati Nandana, they don't accept anymore. There is Mao, Prabhupada. Similarly, sometimes after, he will not be accepted. That is my proposition. As Russia is not accepted now, some days after, he will not be accepted. Similarly, your also theory will fail. That is my proposition, because I challenge that your theory is not perfect, because Russia's theory was not perfect, it has failed. Similarly, I say your theory is also imperfect. Therefore, it will fail. Anything imperfect will fail. That is my proposition. Revati Nandana, his propaganda is that it is perfect because it has made the Chinese people propaganda. By propaganda, you can do anything. That is a different thing. But fact is fact. If your theory is not perfect, you make however propaganda, it will fail. And Prabhupada went on a little further in a discussion. Prabhupada says, that is going on. That is not a new thing. That is going on in the animal kingdom. What is the use of your philosophy? Without having philosophy, this is going on in the animal kingdom. So what is the use of your philosophy? By philosophy, you give something which will not create any conflict. But by conflict, by crushing, by subduing, if you want to establish your peace, then what is the value of this peace? Shyama Sundar. He says we also have to prevent foreign intervention. Prabhupada, if your theory is perfect, then why there should be foreign intervention? I invite anybody to read the whole conversation. You can find it on the internet also. Now, this is a very important point, because we see that various persons who claim so-called monopoly on spiritual advancement on a basis of dubious, unproven theories will often make bold, bodacious, nonsensical statements. Don't fall for it. Mere propaganda does not establish fact. Mere propaganda and sentimentality is different than fact. Very important point. Hare Krishna.
Preserving the disciplic succession according to Srila Prabhupada's teachings to us. And we have Paranjana on the call. I saw him recently in this movie. He wasn't named, so I apologize if I've disclosed your participation in that particular movie, Hare Krishna, Murder and Deceit, or whatever the title was. Maybe you could share a few insights into your experiences in terms of these changed books.
Well, Hardball, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, I was in LA when the steering committee for the Changed Books lawsuit was being formed, and we were meeting at Narayan's house with Gupta and Hansaduda, and Bhagavan showed up a couple times, and we realized the only way to go after this was legally because they're just not going to listen any other way. And it's very unfortunate. They're very stubborn on every issue. The Changed Books is simply one other area. At the same time, we had to sue them for the child molesting. It was again illegal. We had to make a legal challenge on them. So it's very sad when, your so-called quote unquote godbrothers just won't listen to you because they have very, I mean to say, deviant changes that they are very determined to make. And listening to us is not an option for them. But we are making progress. A lot of people are becoming aware of the Changed Books and the Changed philosophy and so many things. And I just ran into some guy in Eastern Europe, very nice guy. He's just found out about my stuff by chance. He saw some of my postings on Facebook. He said, "Who are you?" And I said, "Well, this is my website." And so he went and checked it out. And so then he came back with a lot of questions. He says, "Oh, are you saying we're all Prabhupada disciples?" I says, "Yeah, you are." He says, "Oh my God, really?" He's like very happy to hear that. So he said he's going to translate my stuff into the local language there. And he gave me some accounts of, some of the different gurus who come there. He said, for example, Trivakram says all the other gurus are bogus. He's the only one who's bona fide. I said, well, then how does that make sense? He's in a parampara of people who are all residents of Krishna Loka, but the other residents of Krishna Loka are jerks, and he's not. Does that make any sense? So he said, yeah, it doesn't make sense. So the bottom line is more people are waking up. He's going to be translating our stuff, and I told him to. I sent him the link to our classes here, our Prabhupada Disciple Association classes. He said he's going to try to attend. He's in a different time zone, he's in Eastern Europe, but he said he will definitely listen to the audio of the classes. So he's online. So it's like a brick by brick thing. He's there. He said now he's going to talk to all the devotees in his area, his zone, start to give them information like that. So I do think that the tide is turning very nicely for us. And Bhakti Vikas just gave another lecture, one of his, which is kind of, good news and bad news. He's just admitting that ISKCON is now a Hindu operation. It's not really preaching to the Westerners, and he says there's demigod worship going on, and he was quoting examples that he's seen of Shiva devotees who are initiated into ISKCON, but they're chanting Shiva mantras at ISKCON temples. And he said the Mayapur program is very lusty. There's a lot of these Russian girls hanging around. There's all these men without their shirts on running around. He thinks it's just a way of mingling boys and girls together. So he's got kind of a unique insight into it that is probably very true, that we don't even think of. So he's pointing to a whole bunch of examples that are going on in ISKCON, which he calls mission drift. So it's something we've been very aware of for a long time, but I think they themselves are gradually being forced to admit, yeah, this is what's happened. We have actually drifted the mission out into a Hindu operation. And I mean, they're not really giving a good explanation of why that happened or how that happened, but they're very aware that it has happened. So it's a step forward because people will listen to him and say, yeah, what happened to the mission? And then hopefully and possibly and potentially they'll find our explanation and, realize this is how it all came down. But I wanted to read one real quick thing though about how it's so important for us to try. And
Your
this is
audio, your audio has gone off. Try to speak right into the mic, please.
oh, can you hear me?
Yes,
Hello?
stick right to the mic.
Oh, okay, sorry. Um, I wanted to read real quick, Canto 7, Chapter 9, Text 44. This is
From where?
Prahlad Maharaj. It is from 7th Canto,
Okay.
Text 44, or I'm sorry, Chapter 9, Text 44.
Seventh
And
capped
Prahlad
canto.
Maharaj. My dear Lord Nrsingadev, I see there are many saintly persons indeed, but they are interested only in their own deliverance, not caring for the big cities and towns. They go to the Himalayas or the forest to meditate with vows of silence, mona vrata. They are not interested in delivering others. As for me, however, I do not wish to be liberated alone, leaving aside all these poor fools and rascals. I know that without Krishna consciousness, without taking shelter of your lotus feet, one cannot be happy. Therefore, I wish to bring them back to shelter at your lotus feet. Purport. This is the decision of the Vaishnava, the pure devotee of the Lord. For himself, he has no problems, even if he has to stay in the material world, because his only business is to remain in Krishna consciousness. The Krishna conscious person can even go to hell and still be happy. Therefore, Prahlad Maharaj said, Navaipya para dharatya vaitaranya. O best of the great personalities, I am not at all afraid of material existence. The pure devotee is never unhappy in any condition of life. This is confirmed in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Devotees solely engaged in devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, never fear any condition of life. For them, the heavenly planets, liberation, and the hellish planets are all the same, for such devotees are interested only in service to the Lord. For a devotee, being situated in the heavenly planets and being in the hellish planets are equal. For a devotee lives neither in heaven nor hell, but with Krishna in the spiritual world. Secret of success for the devotee is not understood by the karmis and gyanis. Karmis therefore try to be happy by material adjustment, and jnanis want to be happy by becoming one with the Supreme. The devotee has no such interest. He is not interested in so-called meditation in the Himalayas or the forest. Rather, he is interested in the busiest part of the world where he teaches people Krishna consciousness. The Krishna consciousness movement was started for this purpose. We do not teach one to meditate in a secluded place just so that one may show that he has become very much advanced and may be proud of his so-called transcendental meditation, although he engages in all sorts of foolish materialistic activity. And by the way, this is something Bhakti Vikas says, that a lot of these great so-called quote-unquote scholars in ISKCON now, they're just preaching some new age mumbo jumbo, and it's not actually Krishna consciousness. A Vaishnava like Prahlad Maharaj is not interested in such a bluff of spiritual advancement. Rather, he is interested in enlightening people in Krishna consciousness because that is the only way for them to become happy. Prahlad Maharaj says, I know that without Krishna consciousness, without taking shelter of your lotus feet, one cannot be happy. One wanders within the universe, life after life, but by the grace of a devotee, a servant of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one can get the clue of Krishna consciousness and then not only become happy in this world, but also return home back to Godhead. This is the real target in life. The members of the Krishna consciousness movement are not at all interested in so-called meditation in the Himalayas or the forest, where one will only make a show of meditation, nor are they interested in opening many schools for yoga and meditation in cities. Rather, every member of the Krishna consciousness movement is interested in going door to door, try to convince people about the teachings of Bhagavad Gita as it is, the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. That is the purpose of the Hare Krishna movement. The members of the Krishna consciousness movement must be fully convinced that without Krishna, one cannot be happy. Thus, the Krishna conscious person avoids all kinds of pseudo-spiritualists, transcendentalists, meditators, monists, philosophers, and philanthropists. Haribo.
Thank you very much. We'll move forward. I wanted to comment just quickly on these people that are leaders in the ISKCON movement that are posing, posturing, and pretending to be Uttama Adhikaris. And they give their opinions, like this fellow from England who is giving his opinion about the way the political institutional environment of that misdirected movement is carrying on. This is something we cannot accept from people like him or other people that take that role as so-called guru. This is a great offense against our disciplic succession, and this poison, everyone, is spreading everywhere from the mouths of these so-called posers in the name of bona fide Uttama Adhikari gurus. These people are fake, 100%, and their followers are being misled, and everything they said is garbage. Yashodanandana Prabhu, if you could further comment.
Well, these are very important points that have been made by yourself and our friend Puranjan. The fact of the matter is, just like there is a trend amongst many devotees in the movement to bring this Hatha Yoga and popular motivational speaking and all of these things, well, this may be a trick or a tactic to attract innocent people, but this is not the method that Prabhupada recommended for preaching the message of Lord Chaitanya. Prabhupada did not come off the boat to teach Hatha Yoga. That is not what Prabhupada did. He preached his books, he wrote his books, gradually his books were spread, and this is basically what Srila Prabhupada did. Now this institution has become deviated on account of personal motivation. In other words, there's a major conflict between the original, pure, non-adulterated philosophy and when people start to twist the philosophy, to misinterpret the philosophy with all different kinds of demigod pujas, car pujas, and all kinds of concoctions for money making. You know, money will come. There was a conversation with Srila Prabhupada, and one sannyasi in Africa asked Srila Prabhupada, well, Prabhupada, if we're going to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world, it's going to require a lot of money to preach in books and temples. Prabhupada says, if you follow these principles, chant 16 rounds and follow these 4 regular principles, money will fall at your feet. So Krishna owns all the money. God owns everything. Lakshmi is an energy of Lord Narayana. So simply, if we follow the proper path, Krishna will provide everything. And that is a very important point. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
We're moving to the end of the program. I do apologize. We are running out of time, but I wanted to mention further that we do have our classes on our YouTube channel, Hare Krishna Society YouTube. So anyone throughout the world that can't make the class on the scheduled days, Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays. I know lot of our members here in Hamilton area, they go to the classes at their convenience and catch up on the current topics that we're discussing to keep in time with our efforts. So please note that you can still go to the classes off the regular scheduled Zoom times. And we're getting a lot of response, everyone. I'm noticing even after the classes are posted, there's 250 to 300 to 400 to 500 views of the classes that are being watched by different people throughout the world. And we have Vinkat Bhatta, maybe you could show the invitation if it's possible. We have an invitation card that we've produced, and this invitation card will be something that each individual center people can print. I'm planning to print a few thousand in the Hamilton area, and this we will just, there it is there. See, so free online Zoom classes, thank you. Self-improvement, mental health, self-realization, and bhakti yoga. So this card we'll be able to send it out to you in your particular area, and you can get it printed at your convenience, and then hand it out to people in your particular area to invite them to come. There it is, perfect. So join us for these classes, and in this way, we get a chance to proliferate the message of truth, of the philosophy that Prabhupada wanted us to preach, not institutionalize a group for collecting money like we saw with this unfortunate film that's on TV now, or miniseries. It's extraordinary, where you see all these people collecting tens of thousands of dollars a day and putting it in bank for their particular missions. So lots of things going on with our group, and we'll be back again. Thank you, both of you, for your hands up. I'm sorry we ran out of time. It's now 9:30, and we want to try to stick to our schedule. But thank you very much, everyone, for being a part of the classes. We'll see you again on Saturday morning for Bhagavad Gita class and Sunday for Srimad Bhagavatam class. All glories to the Sankirtan movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Let's move forward with the kirtan.
Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Thanks everybody for participating. Very nice comment from Gora Manyadas, I believe in Mayapur. Says, yes, Srila Prabhupada says that due to these deviations in the course of time, Krishna consciousness will evaporate and a new kind of hippie mentality will be manifested. What he's referring to here is a letter that was written by Srila Prabhupada to Sudama Maharaj with regard to a traveling yoga show and some kind of a yoga village where they were traveling around with some new concocted presentation of Krishna consciousness, and Prabhupada wrote a very detailed letter criticizing these new things, and he told him just to chant Hare Krishna and preach from Bhagavad Gita. Very good point. Thanks, Ronald Singh, for all of his good comments today. Much appreciated. Welcome, everybody. We'll reconvene on Saturday morning. Thanks, everybody. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.